Hey everybody, it's Allison, the Holistic Homesteader. You can see the peonies behind me are coming into their full blooming heads right now. The heads are starting to loosen up, and I wanted to teach you guys how I preserve my peonies. Alright, so you can see that my peonies, you can see a lot of the inner color. The outer green leaves are really loosening up. Some of them are actually starting to completely open. So now is the time that I like to cut some of these off that are still in pretty tight heads, and I preserve them in my fridge. And I end up with peony bouquets for like all of June and most of July if I do it right. Now, how I figured this out was last year, my husband and I, we celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary, and we were going to be gone the week that these guys were going to be in full bloom, and I did not want to miss. I have 6 huge peony bushes. You can see these stand like 4 foot tall. There's 2 more down there by the pool deck. And I did not want to miss all of these guys in bloom. So I had learned that trick a while ago of how to preserve produce in the fridge by wrapping it in aluminum foil. And I thought, well, geez, if it works for that, it'd probably work for these too. So I'm going to show you how I cut them off and how I get them ready to go into the fridge. And I think you're going to be pretty impressed with how easy this is and how long they last. So I've just come down by the pool deck. This is the plant that usually blooms the first, and you can see it has the biggest bloom already opening. But I noticed that this plant here is a little bit delayed. All of these flower heads are pretty tight still. I'm gonna let this plant here go probably a few more days, if not another week total, before I start trimming back some of these blooms to make into preserved bouquets. You want the flower heads to be just starting to open, just like this. So I'm going to pick a few of the nicest groupings, because most peonies, they send up a single stalk, and then off of that stalk, that stem, you usually get 3 or 4 peonies, sometimes more than that, sometimes 5, 6. All right, so when I cut these off, I pick a grouping that has really beautiful heads on it, flower heads. And then what I'm going to do, you can see this is another great tip. I wrapped each of my bushes with just cotton kitchen twine, because they get so top heavy when they start to open. And well, even now they're pretty top heavy even as it is. But we had a really heavy thunderstorm the other night, and we were going to have 40-mile-an-hour winds, so I put this on before that was going to happen, just in an attempt to keep them kind of all held together. And it'll help as the blossoms open. It'll help them from getting too heavy and splitting and falling over. But whenever I go to cut these off, I cut them off I leave them pretty long. So probably about 2 foot, because my plants are like 4 foot tall. So I'm going to trim this, cut this off at an angle about right here. Now when I have it off and on the ground, what I do is I just trim all of these leaves. And you also want to do this later in the evening before the dew comes on, or in the morning just after the dew has dried. You want your plants to be as dry as possible. That is a crucial thing, or else you're going to put them in the fridge to preserve them and they're all just going to mold. because they're wet. So you want these to be as dry as possible. So all I've done is I've cut this off. It's about 2 foot long, and I've trimmed up all of the bottom leaves. I do like to leave a few of the leaves up near the top. And then I'm just going to repeat this process over and over again until I get enough for a bouquet. So it'll probably be about a dozen of these stems. All right, so just using regular scissors, I have cut about a dozen stems off of my peony bushes. I did a few from each. And then all I've done is, again, using the same scissors, I've gone up through and I've taken most of the leaves off. I do leave a few of the leaves that are up near the heads. I do leave those just to add a little bit of greenery as they open up. But now the next step is going to involve aluminum foil. So you need to make sure that you cut these at an angle. You leave them really long, cut them at an angle, and you want to leave them really long because when you are ready to use these here, you will, when you take them out of the aluminum foil, you're going to cut the bottom inch or so off, again at an angle. That'll just cut off the dried part of the stem, and it'll allow the flower to continue getting a good amount of water. And the other tip is you got to leave them long, cut them at an angle, trim all the leaves off, but make sure they are dry. You want them to be super, super dry. And then another tip is to shake all the bugs off, because I can see already that there are a ton of little critters still hanging out on these buds. So I'm going to grab the aluminum foil and we're going to move on to the next step. So I have gathered up all of the stems that I've cut, and I have cut off about a 3 to 4 foot piece of aluminum foil, and I've laid all of them down here on the left hand side, a few inches down from the top. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the blossoms pretty tightly in the aluminum foil. Okay, so I have my bouquet all shaken free of bugs, hopefully. Everything is super dry, everything is trimmed up. So I slide the bouquet a few inches down, 3 to 4 inches down from the top of the foil. And I'm just going to slowly start to wrap my flowers, my bouquet. And as I wrap, I'm going to start to angle a little bit uphill so that this foil works its way down the stems. So when you're done, you just close all of the foil around the top. And now all of our stems are hanging out, so we're going to grab another piece of foil and we're just going to wrap our stems. So it's the same idea. You just kind of want to keep it tight. Roll as you go. This is just the Great Value brand heavy duty aluminum foil. They make an extra heavy version of this, and it works much better. So we have my bouquet completely wrapped. The important part is to get all of the buds completely covered with the foil. You don't want any gapping. And then you want to wrap the whole way down the length and cover up the very tip too. Once this step is done, we simply just put it in the refrigerator. Now these will last in the fridge for probably up to a month, maybe longer, depending on how well you cleaned and dried your peonies. So they'll literally just be frozen in time. It's like the day that you pull them out, they will look just like the day that you put them in. Now, last year when I did this, I think I ended up with about 8 bouquets worth of peonies, because I cut off every last darn tootin' peony I had. And I was pulling out a fresh bouquet or two of peonies every single week for over a month once we got back. And that was really nice to have, because had I not done that, then they all would have just opened up and bloomed and been pretty, and by the time we would have gotten back, they would have just been flower petals all over the ground, and I wouldn't have been able to enjoy any of it. So it's a great tip for preserving peonies and ensuring that you can have fresh bouquets of peonies for well into the summer, well past when they would normally bloom. So like I said, you can do this as many times as you need. You can cut off your entire bush and wrap every single blossom, every single bud if you wanted to, or you could just make up a few to have after these have all bloomed, however you want to do it. It's just a really simple and easy way, and I hope everybody has enjoyed this video. We will see you next time. All right, bye.